one of the biggest things, like what God said to me, He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make junk. You are here
Yeah.
for a reason. You were specifically made out of love to be who you are, and who you are is just perfect the way you are.
Yeah.
And he loves you. He loves you like you're the only one He ever created. One look and I breathe. And he asked me the question again, what would you do if it was just me and you? And
Yeah.
I still didn't know what to do. So I'm looking at this tree that's in front of me, this 1,000,000 year old oak tree, huge. And I noticed the detail of the bark, and I noticed the roots beneath the ground, and I could see the roots pulling nutrients out of the soil, going up into the
Mm.
trunk. They went up into
Hmm.
the leaves and into the veins of the leaves, and then they do what they do. And then I could see how every single part of the tree was connected, and how it's connected to everything else, and very dependent upon everything.
Right.
Um, the leaves clean the air, we breathe the air, and that kind of thing. So everything is
Yeah.
important. There's nothing
Yeah.
God made that isn't important.
Right.
And so then I said, and I don't know why I said this, but I said, um, God, your 100th name is God is everywhere, God is nowhere, and God is in me. And he said, yes, that's right. And then I was almost like he was putting these thoughts into my head, because I'm totally clueless. I
Right.
had no idea what to think, what to say.
Right.
And so he said to me, or I said, I started thinking about my parents, and I said, God, you made my parents. You are in my parents. So when I see my parents, I see you. He said, yes, that's right.
Right.
And so he's getting me to go further and deeper into it. And I said the same thing about my children. You made my
Right.
children. You're in my children. When I see my children, I see you. Well, and he said, yes, that's right. And then he put into my mind, or at least I thought about a person that had hurt me very deeply. And
Hmm.
I said, God, there are people in this world that hurt other people. And I don't like those people very well. I said, but you make those people. You are in those people. So when I see those people, I see you. He said,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. He said, now I've got a question for you. I said, okay. He said, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Well, I didn't have an answer that I felt was appropriate to give God, the creator of everything,
Mm.
because my
Mm.
first answer would have been nothing. I don't see anything, or not much. But that's not what you tell God. See, my whole life I had been treated, told that I was, um, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're not worth anything. Um, and so I was buying into it. I was believing it. And so my self-esteem was just totally shot. And so when God asked me that question, I didn't I did not have a proper answer. But then it just came to me, and I said, God, you made me, you're in me. So when I look in the mirror, I see you. And he said, that's right. And then he said, I don't make mistakes. I don't make junk. You are not all the things that everyone is telling you that you are. You are
Yeah.
what I tell you you are. And he said, you're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And I made you specifically for this purpose. And then he said that, um, no matter even how tiny a human being might be,
Yeah.
in size wise, compared to the
Yeah.
vastness of the universe, the highest heavens, all the, gigantic trees and the mountains and whatever, all the um, different universes and life forms that he's created. He,
Right.
that no matter how tiny we are in the vastness of all that he created, we are integrally important to everything that he created.
Yeah.
And that if we were not here, then his creation changes and becomes something
Right.
other than what he intended. Um, and he let me know that we are loved so infinitely, so
Yeah.
deeply, that he thinks about us 24/7 every moment of every day. And if he didn't think about us, each one of us individually, he loves
Yeah.
me, he loves you, he loves the next person and the person over here and this person over here, as if we were the only ones he created. So
Mm,
it really is just you and God, and just me and God, and just God and whoever this person is, or God and whoever that person is,
right.
because he can love each and every one of us that deeply and that
Yeah.
much all at the same time because of who he is and what he is and how
Yeah.
big he is, and he's not limitless. I mean, he is limitless. There is no limit to him, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
And but he thinks about us all the time, and if would stop for even a millisecond, we would just cease to be as if we never were.
Yeah.
So we know that, if we wake up in the morning, we're still loved. It's not,
Yeah.
and we're still thought about, and we're still
Yeah.
important. So that was very important to me because I did not believe that I was worth anything. People in the world had made me believe that. And when he said, "You are not, don't listen to the world, listen to me." It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what people of the world are saying to you. What matters is what I say to you.
Right.
And I needed that. I really needed that.
So let's go into your third NDE, which I think is just as colorful as I think is just as descriptive. So let's talk about the third one because if I'm not correct, the third one picks up where the second one leaves off. Wow,
Absolutely.
let's talk about that one. Let's talk about that one.
Okay. The third one happened in, let's see, November of 2016.
Okay.
I had gone into the hospital because I had a bowel obstruction and I had to have emergency surgery.
Okay.
So they took me into surgery, and they were operating on me. And what happened was I aspirated on the breathing tube and I stopped breathing.
Mm.
And when I did, my spirit left my body and I'm hovering over the operating table and I can see what they're doing. And I'm such a girly girl that I just was like, "Ooh, that's gross. I don't want to see that." So
Yeah.
I went up in the corner of the room, and it was like I was sitting in a chair, but I wasn't, there was no chair. I was just kind of sitting in a sitting position up in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And I could still see what they were doing. And I was just like, "Mm." No. And about that time, there was it looked like an upside down whirlpool, and it was
Okay.
spinning and going up instead of down. And
Yeah.
it was sort of, I don't know, rainbow colored, sparkly. It wasn't like a dark tunnel, like a tornado. It was
Hmm.
colorful and bright. I thought, all right, I'm out of here. And I went right up through the center of that thing.
Like I've been here, done this before. Let's go.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Um, so by the time I had my third one, I'm slipping out of myself real quick, real easy.
Yeah.
It was not
Yeah.
hard. And
Yeah.
so I find myself standing back in heaven again. Only this time I'm standing right next to the big, gigantic golden wall that surrounds the glorious city.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm
Okay.
looking at it from another, instead of looking at it this way, I'm looking at it the other way. And I can
Yeah.
see there's this big meadow. And then you go from the big meadow that has the tall grass and the beautiful flowers, you go in back into the garden, and the garden is like to the down at the end towards the left. Okay. And
Okay.
then
Hmm.
on the right hand side, what I saw in the second near death experience that I thought was just magnificent was it looked like an old field stone wall that was tumbling down, and it had pink roses growing up and over it. And
Yeah.
that to me was just like, ah, that was so beautiful.
Wow. Wow.
Well, I saw it again in the third one. It was it appeared to be on the other side because I was standing in a different position. But I
Hmm.
saw the old fieldstone wall with the pink roses. And so I'm standing there at this big golden wall. I mean, it is so tall and it is so thick. It's like you couldn't get through it if you wanted to. And I was like, well, how? Okay, I've done this before. I'm dead. Can I walk through that wall? I tried to walk through the wall. That didn't work. I'm bumping my
Right.
face.
Right.
I
Right.
tried to jump the wall. I couldn't jump the wall. I had no superpowers. That wall was so tall. But what it didn't dawn on me to just walk 2 or 3 feet down the way a little bit, and the gates were open, and I could hear people talking and music playing, and I heard dishes clanging. So I knew there was going to be a party.
Yeah.
So while I'm standing there and I'm hearing all of this, I am seeing, well, there's this little beagle, white, brown and white beagle puppy. And I mean, he was just a tiny little thing, fat little belly, and he was jumping at my feet and he wanted me to play
Right.
with him. So I kneel down and I start playing with this little beagle puppy. Now, there are animals in heaven,
Yeah.
but I never had a beagle puppy, so I'm not sure what the beagle puppy meant until later. I
Yeah.
found out,
Yeah.
but he was very insistent. He wanted to be played with. And as I look up, I see hundreds of people coming out of the garden where I was at before. So the garden seems to be some sort of receiving center,
Okay.
apparently.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching all these people coming through the tall grass, and they're going into the city gates. Um, and there were specific people that I saw. I mean, there was hundreds of them, and women and children and
Wow.
families, and just lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
I saw two Middle Eastern men. They came very right into my face. I could see them.
Mm-hmm.
They were absolutely beautiful. They had the
Yeah.
things on their head and the robes, and they were looking at each other and they were laughing and talking. Um, and I noticed that each person had their own angel, and the
Hmm.
angel walking with them or behind them, and the angels were taller and more illuminated than the people were, and
Yeah.
that's how I could tell them apart. But so the two Middle Eastern men, they looked so joyful, and they just walked right across the um the field and went into the city gates. I saw a
Yeah.
man who, why I thought he was from New York and why I thought he was Jewish, I have no idea. It was like I knew that I know
Yeah.
this. How I know, I don't know.
Right.
But
Right.
he was a construction worker. He had his hard hat on. He had jeans. He had a vest that had the tools stuck down in the vest.
Yeah.
And he walked into the city gates. He walked right up to me and then kept walking.
Yeah.
Um, There was another, uh, a young man escorting an older gentleman, and they walked right up to me, and I recognized the younger of the two. Um, he was the son of a friend of mine who had passed away, um, a long time ago, several years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
And I recognized him. I mean, I'd seen pictures of him. I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I know you." And he looked at me and grinned. And then he took his dad and they went right into the city.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was like I was just like, "Oh, I'm so happy." But why can't I get in there? You know?
Right. Right.
Um, so the next thing I know, I'm wandering around, and I come to this building. It's the courtyard of a building, and there
Okay.
was like there was a stone wall around the courtyard. So I'm
Hmm.
standing on this beautiful stone courtyard, flowers and roses all around it. There's this door. It's a big, heavy, arched wooden door.
Hmm.
And there was this angel standing, huge, huge angel. I mean, huge. And
Wow.
he's standing there and he's got keys to let you in the building. If he doesn't let you in the building, you don't get in the building.
You don't get in. Yeah.
There there was an angel like same as him. There was a door in and a door out.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there was and it was the same kind of big, gigantic, heavy. It kind of reminded me of a castle, with the great
Okay.
big heavy doors.
Yeah.
So there was one in the front and one in the back, and each one of the angels, gigantic angels, they had a key to let you in.
Hmm.
Well, he opened. I didn't say anything to him. He opened the door with the key, and he let me go inside. And he walked with me in this building, and I noticed that there was nothing in the building. There
Okay.
was this beautiful architecture. I noticed the archways and the columns, and I saw the marble floor that was like glass. I saw the beautiful stained glass windows and the light coming in through the windows, but I didn't see any furniture, and I thought it was kind of odd. And then we get to the center of the building, this giant room, and
Hmm.
in this room is a golden podium. That's all that's in there. And on top of the podium is a book, and it's a golden book, and it's a living book. The book had light pouring out of the book, and
Okay.
the pages were not paper. They were made of some kind of breathable living cloth. And we're standing up, and I'm looking at this book, and it had some kind of symbols or ancient script written on the page that it was open to, and it was written in
Hmm.
gold, like liquid
Hmm.
gold writing on the page. I
Yeah.
couldn't understand at all what I was looking at. And I was kind of, hey, what is it? Bumping him a little bit. Wake up.
Right.
What is this? Um, but then he didn't say anything. He just kept staring ahead. And I thought, okay, I'm not getting any answers from you. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with
Right.
this information. But
Right.
being that it was a living book and I knew it was a living, I mean, I figured it was the book of life.
Yeah.
And so we walked out. Since I didn't get any answers from the angel, we turned and he walked me out into the courtyard. And
Hmm.
the only words he said to me, and he looked at me and it was very serious. He said, "To read from the book of life is a gift, and not everybody has that gift."
Mm.
I was okay. Well, I didn't have the gift to read the book, and the page was not of my life. I didn't have permission to read someone else's page. It's not my
Right.
business. It's
Right.
that
Right.
everything you ever do or think or say or what, has happened in the past and what will happen in the future. Everything about you is written down on your particular page in the book of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Every soul that's ever existed has a page in that book. But it was not open to my page, and that's why it looked like foreign writing to me. I couldn't read it. Um,
Mm.
he went a little bit further, and it was more telepathic than just, when he said to me to read from the book of life is a gift, and not
Yeah.
everybody has that gift. He looked me square in the face, and I could see his lips moving, although what he was saying went to my head before he got the words out, if you know what I mean. I
Right.
think he was doing
Right.
that for
Yeah.
my benefit to
Yeah.
make it, that was an important message.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I never did have another conversation about whether I was to come back or not. Uh, and I was sent right back.
Right.
And I was in the recovery room. And I started to wake up, and I still had the breathing thing in my, I was hooked up to a machine, and I had this thing in
Yeah.
my mouth. The doctor was in the room at the foot of the bed. The nurse was a male nurse, and he was over by the machine. And he, the only thing I know is whether the doctor told him or not, I don't really know, but he was unhooking me, and I was in recovery for quite a while. And
Hmm.
then I got back to my room. Well, I didn't know this, but I had pneumonia really bad
Okay.
from aspirating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they kept me for quite a while. And they were running in and out with bags of antibiotics. And I'm sitting there on the pillow thinking, I feel wonderful. What's wrong
Yeah.
with all you people? I feel great. I want to get up.
Right. Right.
But it was you can't be in heaven and come back and not be wonderful. I was just
Yeah.
floating off the bed. I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out what was wrong with everybody. What you all running around for? What's wrong with you? This is great. I feel great.
Right. Right.
And the only thing I took the whole time I was there was liquid Tylenol. I didn't take no medicine or nothing. It was
When
amazing.
you've been to heaven, everything pales in comparison. Pales in comparison.
It was so,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Absolutely wonderful. But when I was well enough to pick up my phone and read it,
Hmm.
I had gotten a message from a joint friend from a friend of mine, and she said that the woman whose son that I recognized in heaven,
Yeah.
her husband had died that day while I was in surgery. And I said, I know, because he's with her son, and they went into the city gates together, and they're fine. He's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then um my daughter came to visit me, and I was telling her the experience, and I told her about the beagle puppy, and she said, Mom, we had to call the police on a man, a neighbor of ours, who was seen beating his beagle puppy to death. And
Mm.
so I was able to tell her, the beagle puppy's fine. He was running around and playing, and he was right on me all the time I was there, wanting to play with me. He's fine. So those were two things that were very important that happened, that I was able to come back here and tell. The
Wow.
husband and the
What now?
son are together, and the puppy's okay. And so
What was
that
their
was,
reaction?
oh my goodness, it really helped the woman in her grieving process,
Good.
from
Good.
what I was
Good.
told. And my
Yeah.
daughter, she was just blown away. She was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Right.
And I never had a beagle puppy, and nobody in my family has had a beagle puppy. So
Right.
that, I mean,
Right.
she was just like, I knew that was just for her. I had I had a young, I won't say how they're related to me because of, but I had this beautiful young child come to me and say, I remember what the angels said to me when I was in mommy's tummy.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, and this particular child had abilities that blew me out of the water.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
It's like she
Sure.
was an angel herself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
This is a different generation, and even as I've been doing these, I've been remembering memories that I had. Like they didn't come as I started doing this, but I had them when I was younger,
mhm,
and even spent time contemplating them. Like one of the ones I was with this being who, and this is pre-birth. This is before I even got here,
mhm,
pre-birth, and he's showing me a rundown home, and he's showing me this very opulent home, and telepathically he's saying, "Choose your path." And even as you talked about, our personalities are very much still the same when we're on the other side. I said, give me the rundown path because I believe, when I think about it now, I'm thinking, man, James, you're very arrogant, but that was your personality. But I believe that I could overcome this rundown home and make it into something beautiful as opposed to the easier path of opulence and all of that. And then when I look at my life, and I just share with you how I can't swim, but I went snorkeling and dived off diving boards because that's the same personality that was there before I got here. That's still my same personality. Jumping out of airplanes, ain't scared of heights. It's like, and so me and God, we had a recent conversation. Like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm done. I'm, I'm with the
I
easy
think you're
part now.
amazing. You're wonderful.
Thank you, but yeah, it's and then another one I had was I'm wherever I'm at, but I'm looking at Earth, and I'm just thinking, man, that seems so heavy and
Mhm.
so dense in contrast to where I was at in that moment. And I don't know if I was on my way here or what, but some of my pre-birth memories are starting to come back, and I'm remembering before I got here. It's interesting. And for you and for those who are watching, one of the things I learned about NDEs and just kind of what I learned when I was I called it a wilderness experience. That's kind of when I went away for about 30, 40 days and was kind of given these understanding myself without having to have an NDE, um, was that consciousness, as we know, is the truth of who we are because the body, you know, doesn't go with us, though we might have a celestial body or a light body where we at. But your consciousness is your true self. And as consciousness, because there are infinite versions of us, your consciousness can shift from one version to another version to another version to another version. So consciously, you become that version who is at that hospital, or you can now shift consciously, and now you're that person. But only thing that's moving is consciousness. The same way as we dream at night, your body is on the bed, but your consciousness has shifted to another experience where now you are fighting dragons and doing all this, and then in another moment, while you are so-called still dreaming, you go from one dream to another dream. It's not like you travel into the next dream. You're in one dream, and then next thing you know, you're in another dream where you're a pilgrim or something. So it's the consciousness that's moving, and the consciousness can shift to any of the infinite parallel reality versions of ourselves that are happening right now. That are happening right now. And I know I need to do a video, more comprehensive video around that. But yeah, that makes all the sense in the world to me. It really does. So good stuff. Good stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and wind down because I'm thinking this might be 3 episodes at this point. Um, but you gave us some. First of all, we could have kept talking before we even hopped on here. Now we hop on here like we can just stop when we want to, but now we got to make ourselves. So that's a good That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I just like you put it like that. It's evidence of a good thing when you can have this kind of ongoing conversation, just like we're just hanging out. But you gave us a lot of good information, a lot of good insight, especially for my community that may be transitioning or have had loved ones that are transitioning. You painted a beautiful picture for us of what that experience or what those experiences are like. And I know we didn't necessarily get to the last one, so we may have to have you back and maybe share that one. But I just want to thank you so much. And in saying that, whether from the time since you've been back, from any of those experiences, or from those experiences themselves, what would you say this is one thing I want to make sure I leave them with? If they don't get anything else from me, I want to make sure I leave them with this. What would that be?
One of the biggest things, like what God said to me, He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make
Yeah,
junk. You are here
yeah,
for a reason. You were specifically made out of love to be who you are, and who you are is just perfect the way you are.
yeah.
And he loves you. He loves you like you're the only one He ever created. And it doesn't matter what you believe, what faith you are, what tradition you are. There is only one God, and He has many, many names. And He will answer to anything, because
Yeah.
his biggest thing is loving you and wanting a relationship with you. However, and He will come down to you on your
Mm,
level and talk to you in a way that you can personally understand, because each one of us is very different. And He will talk to me in a different way than He may talk to you. But if you listen, when you pray, He bows down and listens to you. That's how
powerful,
important you are to Him.
powerful, powerful stuff. So, having said that, for those who resonate with what you shared, or maybe even resonate with your experiences, and maybe want have some questions, of course, you can always drop your questions in the comments below. But if they want to contact you directly, Sharon, how can they do that? Is there a website, an email, or something they can reach out to you?
There's an email, and
Okay.
if I can tell you what it is, if you can put it down there, they are, well, I people write to me all the time. I don't know how they
Yeah.
find it, but they do. And I will talk. And actually, if someone wants to talk to me on the phone, it just send me an email and say, I really need to talk to you. I talk to anybody who wants to talk.
What a beautiful soul. So I'll have the email and a link to the book. I'm assuming it's on Amazon,
Yeah, both
correct?
of them are on
Okay.
Amazon.
So, okay. So I'll have a link to the books and the email below that you can utilize to reach out to Sharon. And Sharon, I just want to personally thank you. You are a sweetheart, just a beautiful, vibrant. So I don't know who you were before, but this version of you is freaking amazing. So
Thank you. Oh, you're an angel.
absolutely.
I love you.
Absolutely. I love you too. I love you too. Just your energy, your spirit is just, it's infectious. So,
Thank
um,
you.
I, as I close out always to my audience, I love and I appreciate you. And both Sharon and I say goodbye for now.